Hi, I'm a vet, and today we're going to be talking about, is your cat drinking too much water? I'm going to talk about some red flags that you should watch out for when it comes to how much water your cat should be drinking. The general rule of thumb is 4 ounces of water per pound of food. If your cat eats a can of food every day, you would think that they should be drinking about 4 ounces of water. However, there are certain diseases where cats will drink more water than usual or less water than usual. Today, I'm going to talk about some red flags or conditions where your cat might be drinking an abnormal amount of water and when that should really be concerning. The first one is going to be diabetes. Cats with diabetes mellitus will have high blood sugar, and when their body tries to get rid of this excess sugar, they actually get rid of it through their urine. And because they're urinating more, they become dehydrated, and then they get thirsty, and then they end up drinking more water. The cycle continues. Sometimes cats with diabetes mellitus also have increased appetite, but are still losing weight. If you're noticing those two things together in your cat, definitely bring them in to see your vet. Another thing that can happen is kidney disease. So with kidney disease, the kidneys aren't filtering the blood as well as they should be. This leads to toxins building up in the blood. And what happens is the cat becomes dehydrated from all these toxins. That makes them thirsty, which then causes them to drink more water. However, since the kidneys aren't working as well, they're not able to absorb all the water and all the fluids that they should be, so it ends up having a decreased urine output despite the fact that they're drinking more water. With kidney disease, you may also notice other signs like decreased appetite, lethargy, hiding, or even vomiting. Another disease where you can see increased thirst and increased water consumption is hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is a disease where the thyroid gland is overactive and it makes too many hormones. These hormones make the cat's metabolism speed up, and that speeds up how quickly they burn their calories and their nutrients. So because of that, they'll have increased appetite, but not necessarily weight gain. Even though they're eating more, they're burning off those calories, and the extra calories that they're burning off are getting from the water that they're drinking. That's why you'll see increased water consumption with hyperthyroidism. You'll also see increased thirst and sometimes vomiting as well. If you're noticing any of these signs, it's really important that you bring your cat in to see the veterinarian so they can run some tests and figure out if there is an underlying medical condition causing this increased thirst and increased water consumption. The next one is liver disease. Cats with liver disease can have something called hepatic encephalopathy. Hepatic encephalopathy is a fancy word that means that the liver isn't processing the toxins in the blood properly. It's kind of like when you re in a room and you smell something that shouldn't be there. That's kind of like what hepatic encephalopathy is for cats. They can sense that there's toxins in the blood that shouldn't be there. It causes them to start drinking more water in an effort to dilute those toxins. Another reason why your cat might be drinking more water is if they've had a recent decrease in their water intake. When cats go through something called a water restriction, maybe they had a urinary blockage or they were hospitalized and weren't given access to water, they might be drinking more water when they get back home because they were trying to compensate for all that fluid that they didn't have while they were sick. So if you notice your cat is drinking more water after being sick, that can be a good thing. Usually it means that they're recovering well and they're compensating by drinking more water. Another reason could be that you've recently changed their diet. If you've changed their diet to a more dry food, they might be drinking more water because they need to try to meet that daily fluid requirement. As a general rule of thumb, for every 1,000 calories from dry food, cats should be getting 500 calories from water. So if you've noticed your cat is drinking more water after switching to a more dry food diet, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. It could just mean that you need to add more wet food to their diet. So they're re-getting that 500 calories from wet food, which has more moisture in it than dry food does. Another time the cats tend to drink more water is during hot weather. So in the summer, if it's really hot outside, or if you have your air conditioning broken and your house is really hot, they might be drinking more water because they're trying to cool themselves down. In addition to drinking more water, you might also see them panting or drooling more as well. So if it's hot outside and you notice your cat is drinking more water, that can be completely normal. Sometimes cats will also drink more water if they're stressed. So if there's been a change in the household, maybe someone new moved in, or a new pet came into the house, they might be drinking more water because of stress. If it's a short-term increase in water intake, it probably isn't anything to worry about, but definitely keep an eye on it. Another reason why your cat might be drinking more water is if they've recently gotten a dental cleaning or had some other type of dental procedure done. For example, I did a dental cleaning yesterday on a cat, and that cat drank a lot of water overnight. What happened was the cat was uneating, and then the owner gave the cat some water, and the cat ended up drinking the whole bowl. Well, the reason why that happened is the cat wasn't eating and therefore wasn't getting calories. Cats usually get most of their calories from their food, but a good portion of their calories come from water as well. So if they're not eating, they are not getting those calories, and then they are retrying to compensate for it by drinking more water. Also, some cats are just naturally more thirsty. There are some cats that always want water and are always chugging it, and there is nothing wrong with that. Some breeds are predisposed to wanting to drink more water. For example, Siamese cats seem to always want water. They're always chugging it, and they're always asking for more water. So those are all the reasons why your cat might be drinking more water. So now let's talk about what you should really be looking out for. The following are red flags that if you see them, you should absolutely call your vet and ask if you should bring your cat in to see the vet. The first one is going to be yellowing of the gums. Yellowing of the gums, or yellowing of the skin, especially on the belly, can mean that your cat is suffering from jaundice. Jaundice is a sign of liver disease. If you see yellowing of the gums, I would highly recommend that you contact your veterinarian and ask if you should bring your cat in to see the vet. Another red flag to look for is if your cat is straining to urinate. If you're noticing that your cat is straining to urinate, or you hear them crying when they trying to go to the bathroom, that can be a sign of a lower urinary tract disease. Common lower urinary tract diseases include flooded or feline lower urinary tract disease. This is a fancy name for a group of diseases that cause inflammation of the bladder or the urethra. Those diseases can range from being idiopathic, which means we don't know what the cause is, to having a urinary blockage, which is usually a very painful emergency. So if you're noticing that your cat is straining to urinate or crying when they trying to urinate, I would definitely call your vet. Another red flag to look out for is if your cat is urinating outside the litter box. If you notice your cat is urinating outside the litter box, that can be a sign of a lower urinary tract disease, but it can also be a sign of kidney disease. If you notice that your cat is urinating outside the litter box, definitely contact your vet and ask them if you should bring them in to see the vet. Another red flag is if your cat is having accidents in the house. If your cat is having accidents in the house, that can be a sign of a number of different diseases. It can be a sign of kidney disease, lower urinary tract disease, or even diabetes mellitus. So if you're noticing that your cat is having accidents in the house, definitely contact your veterinarian and ask them if you should bring them in to see the vet. And the last red flag that you should watch out for is if your cat is lethargic. Lethargy is a red flag no matter what else is going on. If you notice your cat is lethargic and is drinking more water, definitely bring them in to see the vet. I hope this was helpful. If you liked this video, please subscribe and click the notification bell so you can stay updated on all my future videos.